when you were younger, your family grew their own wheat
Oh,
and
yes.
vegetables and raised chickens on their properties.
Oh, yeah, we had I told you my daddy had a big house because he was over keeping them constructed and roofed and any repairs that needed doing. And we had a big house, and I remember it had like 3 porches, and they had a big garden and they grew all their vegetables. And they had an area way down at the end below where the houses were. If you had a cow, you could keep it, or pigs. And I know when JL was growing up, he used to go feed the pigs,
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And then he milked.
The cow?
Yeah, he learned to milk the cow and all. But we had chickens. Oh, yeah, we had plenty of food because they grew most of it themselves.
Wow.
Besides my father's job, my mother never did work. With all us children, she had to stay home and take care of us.
Did you ever have to, like, pluck the chicken, like, kill a chicken? And
I didn't,
No.
but even after James and me were married, he did. He would kill the chicken, wring its neck, and then,
Pluck the feathers?
yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was small and growing up, and we'd have company come. My mother and daddy would just go out and kill a chicken, and
Really?
yeah, and have chicken, and they always had country hams in the smoke room curing. And
So you had your own smoke room?
my daddy built one under our house. We called it the basement, but he made it where he could hang them to cure.
Okay.
And he would make, like out of the garden cabbage, cut it up, and he'd make a big barrel of kraut. And you all, I know, don't know what I'm
No.
talking about, but it's a big wooden barrel. And on the top of it, he would save all those cabbage stalks, that come out of the center,
Okay.
which you might have eaten at some time or other.
Yeah.
I always liked them. But he would put those on top of the barrel of kraut. And that was such a treat for us kids
Oh, yeah?
to have one of those pickled
Uh-huh.
Oh, so what is kraut? It's just like a pickling kind
Pickled
of...
cabbage?
cabbage. You've had kraut and winners,
So-
winners, I'm sure.
I don't think so.
You haven't?
I don't
James
think so.
always liked that. I used to fix kraut and winners a lot. Not a lot, but
Right.
occasionally.
And
But
like,
it's like on a Reuben, if you eat Reuben sandwiches,
yeah.
the kraut.
oh yeah. Oh yes, I have had
Sour
that.
like.
Mm-hmm.
And then like when you grew your wheat, did you have a place you would take it to
Yeah, they
Take
would
it-
take it to the
the
mill and have it ground, and that's the way the cotton fields, they would take their, after they picked cotton. Of course, we didn't do that because we didn't have cotton fields, we just had vegetable gardens. But they would pick the cotton and take it to the gin, and
Mm-hmm.
and they did the same thing with meal, the grinding the corn. And
It said that you worked in the ice cream parlor when you were younger.
yeah, my first job was in the superintendent's office in Shelby. At that time, they had the superintendent's office at the high school. It was in an office of its own in the high school. And during my 2 study hall periods, I would go to the superintendent's office, and that was my first job, and
Oh,
help
wow.
out, type or answer the telephone or file. And at that time, I was so nervous because sometimes he would leave the office and his regular secretary would have to leave, and she'd say, "Mescal, answer the phone." Now, if it rings, just pick it up and say, "Superintendent Walter Abernathy's office, this is Mescal Wilkie. May I help you?" And I just kept praying, "Don't ring,
Oh,
don't ring." But I had to answer
Yeah,
it a couple of
you
times,
got used to it. Uh-huh.
But that was my first job. And then after school, I got a job at the Bluebird Ice Cream Parlor. It was family orientated, and one of the fellows that went to high school, his father was the chief of police, and his mother run the Bluebird, and she hired me, and I worked after school and on weekends. But Mr. Abernathy called me into his office and sat me down and talked to me about the pitfalls of working in a restaurant and what all you might encounter, you know. And I appreciated it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it was sweet of him to do that.
What was some of the things he said, though?
Oh, he just said, now, there'll be young people there and boys and even men, and you just have to be very particular how you act and behave around them, and just stuff like that.
Wow.
But it was nice
Yeah.
of him to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But the first paying job I had was in his office, and I just worked during my study hall periods.
Uh-huh.
So did
But
you?
believe me, I worked,
Yeah.
and after school too.
That's neat that they would give a student an opportunity to
Right.
do that.
Yeah.
You know.
And it was through the, I don't know, the government or something,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it helped buy my books and things.
Uh huh. Hmm.
And when I first started to work for the telephone company, I made $12 a week.
Wow.
And that was 40 hours.
Wow.
And
$12 a week.
And
You
then they
taking
got,
it? Yeah.
then they got the unions, you know, and
Mhm.
of course we were able to make more and all that.
I was looking right here. It said that you said that the price of gas was 15 cents per gallon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I remember when cigarettes were like 5 and 10 cents a pack too.
Wow. And movies were 5 cents a ticket.
Yeah, if you had a dime, you could go to the movie and still have a nickel left to buy a bar of candy.
Uh-huh.
In the beginning, when I went, they didn't even have they didn't have drinks in there, you know,
Mhm.
or even popcorn machines. There
Really?
wasn't such a thing.
Wow.
Wow.
But they did have concession where you could pick up candy bars. And
Uh-huh.
But I remember there was a wholesale house across from the movie, and we'd take that nickel and go over to the wholesale house, and we could get 5 or 6 pieces of candy for a nickel, you know,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and take them to the movie then, and eat them while we were in the movie.
What movies do you remember from those days? Do you remember like Douglas Fairbanks Jr. and all those movie stars from?
I remember those names: Claudette Colbert,
Uh huh.
Colbert,
Yeah.
and Gary Cooper, and
Yeah.
Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers,
Yeah.
all those. Yeah.
Do you remember what the first movie you went to see?
No, I sure can't. But it was probably in black and white.
Oh yeah.
And then they were in color. And I want to show you something. And it said